so much, guys. Now in Batman Arkham Origins, the Cape Crusader has a very un-Merry Christmas. Joining me to talk about that is the creative director, Eric Holmes. Eric, thanks so much for joining us. Sans cape. I know you had the cape on. Thanks for taking it off for the demo. But we're excited to see Batman Arkham Origins for the very first time.
We're excited to show it.
I bet you're excited to show it. So let's talk a little bit about the game and tell us what we're seeing on screen.
Okay, well, you're going to see this first look at gameplay here. This is our early career Batman. Batman is approximately year 2 of his career, and he's being hunted by Black Mask's assassins on Christmas Eve. This is actually this is one of our new additions to the open world, what we call a crime in progress. This is icon here on the HUD that Batman's used to track it down. So this is a dynamic world event that's taken place. These guys have actually set fire to a bank, and we're stealing from it, and Batman stepped up to the plate and is engaging these guys, stopping them. This is also a new enemy type we have in the game called the Armored Enforcer. He's a large enemy type. You can grab Batman, you can take him down, you can pound the ground and slam everyone out of the way. So he has a whole library of new moves, and there's a bunch of new enemies we've added to the game, to the combat, to bring an element of unpredictability and variety to it. So new enemies, new types of encounters in the open world. It's a whole bunch of new things to mix it up.
Yeah, you talk about that crime in progress scenario. That's pretty interesting. Is this something that happens randomly, or is it driven by the story kind of unfolding, Batman becoming this crime fighter?
There's a combination of things. We have systemic content. We also have a whole new story in the game, obviously, as well. But primarily, the crimes in progress are systemic. So there'll be surprises. You're going to be roaming around the world, and you'll just stumble across these things. You can opt in to stop them, or you can cruise by and continue on with the story too.
And what would be the benefit of stopping them? Just increasing your character development, but also maybe progressing the story?
We have a whole new upgrade system. So we have a bunch of stuff in the open world. We have most wanted characters who are new faces for Batman Arkham Origins. They're new to the Arkham universe, and some returning characters too. With combinations of things like the most wanted with our crime in progress system, the idea is that the world's filled with opportunities to get experience points, and you're seeing all this new feedback that you're getting for how well you did in the fight.
Gotcha.
So you've got an idea of how well you've done, what you got out of it in terms of experience points. You'll see your progression bar fill up as you're about to level up. And then you get an all-new tree system for your upgrades. So you'll be working your way towards these badass upgrades that are deeper in the tree and working through core stuff that's early on there.
I like to fight crime at night, which is why I asked. It's very intriguing to me. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the story and the setting. Obviously, you know, it's Christmas. You've talked a little bit about the Black Mask being in the game as well. What are you guys saying about the story? We know it's an origin story, obviously, but why is this important for this third installment in this franchise?
I think the most exciting thing for this story for me is that it's a really formative story for Batman. So Batman is a character we're all very familiar with. We know what he's like, but by going into the early career setting, we can see him becoming that character that we know. We can see him encountering characters for the first time. And those characters are not necessarily completely familiar to us yet, including who Batman is. Our Batman's a little bit more raw, a little bit more rough-edged. He isn't used to working with anyone yet. He's a little bit more aggressive and solo-minded, so we get to see him knock some of the edges off his character and really develop it through the really pivotal events in our story.
Now, what are we seeing here? He's obviously looking to, is he infiltrating this building here?
So what he's doing is he's engaging in a most wanted encounter, following up one of our new characters in the game, which is Anarchy.
Okay.
Now, Anarchy set up a series of bombs at various institutions across the city. This one is right on top of, I believe, one of the newspapers of the city. And he has a new character type here. You saw the Enforcer before. This is the martial artist. So, you know, in the Batman Arkham games, the counter system is one of the best things in the game. The free flow combat, the style of the fighting with the counters is fantastic. So this is an enemy that can play the game just like Batman. You can counter him, but he can counter you too, and then you can counter his counters. So it gives you this little bit more back and forth of high skill fighting, where it really kind of breaks the flow a little bit and shows off just how skillful Batman is.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you guys obviously took this game over at WB Montreal from Rocksteady. Well, in terms of the combat specifically, you know, that was a defining thing for this series. What you're talking about enhancing it. Did you kind of have a philosophy that this was already great, you just want to make minor tweaks?
We have been very surgical about what we've added, and so preserving what works has been absolutely vital for us. So that's why there's these surgical additions on top. Things like the martial artist adds something to the great counter system. We're not changing the counter system, but we are adding something on top. The Enforcer enemy adds a new type of variety because it's a big, bulky, powerful enemy that Batman, it actually builds off the armored thug system, which you've seen in the other games. So where you have to stun them to be able to break through the armor and perform beatdowns. In this, Batman actually has to stun them to be able to rip the armor off and then reduce him to a character that he can then perform beatdowns on. No, so these are fundamental ideas we've already seen in the game, but they're new ways to combine the parts and create a new experience.
Right, and I think one of the things that people have enjoyed so much about these games is that, you know, for one of the first times you actually feel feel like Batman traversing through Gotham and Arkham Asylum. Talk about the environments here, because I know there's multiple areas to explore,
Sure.
and this game's significantly bigger than the last one.
So,
too, right?
yep, absolutely. What you're seeing here is the South Island. This is New Gotham, the South Island, and it's much more vertical, much taller. So Batman's grappling glide gameplay is something we'll be able to expand in that area. It's the same controls and the same mechanics, but by having all these crosswalks and these catwalks, these connections between the buildings, we have an entirely new feeling to that area in terms of the scale, in terms of just the way you can kind of have that pace, so how you grapple, glide, dive. You'll get to higher speeds when you're diving. You'll get much more kind of complex, but not troublesome navigation. So it's been something that's been really fun to add to. Another thing you're seeing in the game here is you're going to see new gadgets. And so here at E3, we're showing the remote claw. Now what this is a gadget that Batman launches a projectile, it hits one target, and then it shoots out another claw which hits a second target and pulls the two of them together.
Wow.
So you're going to see a bunch of uses for it right here in this Predator room. So Batman can take these guys out by smacking them together and stunning them. He can launch objects at them. He can hang them up from gargoyles. You also saw him build a connecting wire between two of these gargoyles so he can navigate around that way. There's a whole library of ways to use this gadget across the game, and we think it's a really cool addition.
Yes, it looks fantastic. Are there a ton of new gadgets, or are you kind of keeping that?
There's a bunch of them, but we're not showing them all at E3, but we're primarily focusing on the remote claw here at E3.
Okay, one thing you have shown is the inclusion of Bane. We did see Joker in the trailer as well. What other, this is about Batman encountering a lot of these guys for the first time, so who else can we expect to see? Who are you talking about?
We're kind of being tight-lipped about our characters right now. There's a bunch of surprises we want in the game. Story is super important for us. As an Arkham game, we believe story is, those games have great stories, and we don't want to ruin ours by giving too much away.
Sure.
We do have other familiar faces, such as the Penguin coming back. We've also showcased Deathstroke, who's one of our new assassins who's coming after Batman, one of Black Mask's assassins. But we're being a little bit cagey. We're not revealing too many characters at this point.
Okay, and the game is coming out for which platforms?
It'll be on PS3, Xbox 360, PC, and Wii U, and it's out on October 25th.
It's out on October 25th. And also, quickly, there's also a mobile version, or is it
There's a handheld game called Arkham Origins Blackgate, which is being developed by our friends at Armature Studios.
Okay.
And it looks fantastic.
Does it tie in story-wise?
It connects, after the end of our story, it connects in really well.
Okay, great. And they're coming out at the same time?
I believe so, yeah.
Lots of Batman for you guys this holiday. Eric, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it as always. This is absolutely one of the most anticipated games of E3, and it's looking great. We appreciate the very first look here at E3 All Access.